Okay, so kita sambung tadi cerita pasal open innovation dekat Daiso. Okay, so basically what they did adalah they get ideas from housewife. Dia panggil housewife ni and then brainstorm. But please remember that that is ideas ya. Okay, dia housewife ni dia tak buat, dia tak jadikan benda tu satu produk. So they have designers to do it. But they have the housewife to check lah whether benda tu functional ke ataupun ikut macam mana yang idea yang mereka gambarkan sebelum itu. Okay, so what basically they do adalah kalau secara konvensionalnya companies ni what they do adalah dia akan launch and then dia akan dapatkan customer feedback dengan harapan apa yang dia buat tu adalah fulfill customer punya need mengikut their own interpretation. Okay, mengikut interpretasi mereka sendiri ataupun mungkin market research mereka sendiri. Tapi apa yang Daiso buat adalah dia panggil customer tu. Because this housewife adalah customer lah kan kiranya. Usually housewife lah yang suka pergi Daiso ni. The ladies yang suka pergi Daiso ni. So dia panggil customer tu datang bagi idea dekat dia. So very innovative. Dia sangat menjimatkan masa actually sebab dia dah tahu dah apa yang customer nak. Sebab dia dapatkan terus daripada customer. Okay. So ideas tu dia dapatkan but they also have their own designers dan satu lagi bagaimana Daiso ni boleh survive okay, despite all the competitions. Dia akan identify mana produk yang tak laku. Okay. So they eliminate 600 items that sold badly every month and replace with new ones. Maksudnya they always change dia punya produk. Nampak okay yang ini not selling very well, stop. Okay, ganti dengan produk yang lain. Okay, so the designers will always have to innovate. Kena sentiasa fikirkan benda yang baru. Okay, so these are one of the open innovation practice yang dibuat oleh Daiso. So next time when you go to Daiso, I hope it brings more meaning to you lah. So you will remember this practice di belakang tabir yang dibuat oleh Daiso yang menyebabkan many people would go to Daiso and shop. Okay. So I hope you understand the term open innovation. Okay, next. So let's do some discussion. Okay, that's this statement. Asking customers what they want is the best way to create new products that will be successful in the market. Do you agree or do you disagree? What do you think? You can write in the chat or you can. Why do you say so? Saya jawapan agree or disagree ni is the first step. My second step is why. Why do you think so?
Because all the product is you have to return to the customers because the customer is what makes our company run. So we have to get the best out of the customer to give the best back to the customer.
Okay. So siapa yang bercakap tadi? Ikmal
I say.
Okay. So Ikmal kata because you want to give the best to the customer. So to give the best adalah to get the best from them lah. Maksudnya to ask what actually they want. Okay.
Yes.
Because Hasni Wati kata because consumer know what the problem. Okay, I have to open the chat. Sekejap, sorry. Ya, saya buka chat. Because yang membelinya adalah customer, agree because as business people we have to solve customers' problem. Customers needs lead to success of the company. Customer needs lead to success of the company. Okay. Agree through right way such as questionnaire. Agree because consumer know more what problem they have so they need solution. Most of products are trying to solve the problem so the customer always wants something that can help with their problem. Okay, agree. Semua agree ni tak ada orang yang kata disagree ke? Agree because at the end of the day all you do in business is to fill the wants and the needs of your customers in order to survive in the industry. Okay, basically you all semua agree lah. Okay. Asking customers what they want is the best way to create new products that will be successful in the marketplace. Okay. All of you so far agree. Okay. Now, saya punya pendapat. It's okay for you to agree with it. Okay, itu tak ada masalah. Pegangan saya adalah customer is not always right. So, because I was a designer, okay, so my customer adalah Sony. Okay, so Sony dia punya customer dia orang lain lah. Customer dia adalah people in the marketplace. Tapi customer saya adalah Sony. So, sebagai designer, I believe what I do is based on the knowledge that I have, and also the other factors macam costing, kebolehpakaian design tu, okay, dan sebagainya lah. Okay, so throughout my experience, this is what I felt. Customer is not always right. There are times when the customers are right. There are times that customer is not right. So sometimes, at times, asking them what they want is the best way to produce things for them. But sometimes asking them what they want is not the best way to create products for them, because sometimes they ask for very high specification, but they want very low cost, which is impossible. Okay, so secara teori dia memang, kalau orang marketing, dia memang akan cakap customer is always right. You must ask at all times. You must ask customers what they want, because that is the best way for you to create product. Sebab you memang dapat input daripada dia orang akan beli the product in any way. Okay, but my experience tells the other way around. My experience tell me that if you ask, dia ada masa dia yang you need to ask, tapi ada masa dia that you need to defy. Maksudnya, you try to fulfill their needs, tapi sampai masa kita akan sampai dekat kita punya threshold di antara kemampuan dengan apa yang kita tidak mampu. So masa tu you need to negotiate with the customer. That not to say that you are not able, but it can be something yang memang impossible pun. Okay, you cannot get ni. Sebab customer kan, kalau boleh dia nak benda yang sangat berkualiti pada harga yang sangat rendah. It takes something yang quite very radical lah to do that. But sometimes kita rasa pun dia tak appreciate kita punya kerja tu pun satu. Dan satu lagi, sebenarnya dia tak faham pun teknologi or perkara yang build up yang boleh untuk kita cipta benda tu untuk dia. The cost or something lah. Macam tu. Okay. So that is why saya kata whatever that you have learned in your textbook, bila you experience it yourself, sometimes you akan berhadapan dengan perkara yang tell you the other way around. So it is best for you to have that experience, to appreciate nanti bila you all buat buat internship kan, and then kerja. So benda tu sebenarnya dia akan membuatkan you lebih appreciate apa yang you belajar dekat universiti sebenarnya. Sekarang ni you masih lagi follow the textbook because you don't have choice maybe. Okay, unless you have your own experience before, you will appreciate more lah. Okay, so theoretically asking customer what they want is the best way to create new product, but practically I don't think so. Okay, asking them, not all the time lah. You can always ask them, but not all the time. There are times that you need to negotiate with them. There are times that you need to justify, okay, why it is not possible to do apa yang mereka nak. And it is sometimes you need to justify that satu perkara baru tu yang mereka tak tahu dan tak sedar tu adalah baik untuk mereka. Macam analog dengan digital broadcasting tu lah. Okay, if we ask them, customer, do you want to change to digital broadcasting but you need to change your TV? Mestilah dia orang tak nak kan? Siapa yang nak spend more money to change TV? Okay, but if you can justify them, if you can explain and make them understand why there is a need for digital broadcasting, then diorang akan kalau diorang faham, then you boleh buatlah benda tu. Okay, so new product, there are a lot of uncertainties. So sometimes asking customer what they want, perhaps the best way, but sometimes pushing the new technology ke or the new product to them and justify. Masa tu orang marketing dia punya peranan dia memang sangat hebat lah. Sebab mereka lah yang kena war-warkan, kena justify, kena cakap, kena explain that this product will do good for you. Masa tu mereka sangat penting lah. Peranan mereka sangat penting. So that's why it comes back to how you justify your situation. Okay, so the answer can be agree or disagree. Thank you for that. Okay, at least I get your brain working. Okay, now let's go to number 3. Kita tak ada banyak masa. Okay, number 3, the one of the types of change that provide competitive wedge for companies adalah strategy and structure change. Okay, all organizations need to make changes in their strategy, structure, management process, and administrative procedures from time to time. Okay, so why? Because competition. Okay, competition. So kita bukan kata company yang dalam Malaysia sahaja, it can be companies outside, in all around the world. Okay, so we have seen that over the past decade, especially when the internet start to boom. Okay, so many companies are cutting out layers of management and decentralizing decision making or shifting to virtual network strategies to incorporate e-business. Okay, so bila adanya trend e-business ni, start the trend of e-business, internet and so forth, the organisation becomes flatter. Dia jadi lebih flat. Dia punya hierarchy dia tak banyak. Okay. So, and also you can work from home. You can establish your own business from home. You can create you can work from home if you work from a company, or you can also have your own business from home. And companies boleh decentralize decision making. Decentralize ni maksudnya kalau dulu cuma manager sahaja yang buat, sekarang ni decision tu not that other people make the decision for the management, but input tu kita boleh dapat. Okay, as I mentioned before, finally yang akan buat decision still are the people at the top. Still. Okay, unless kalau dia pecahkan organisasi tu kepada teams. Okay, dan dia bagi tahu, okay, for this untuk perkara ni, okay, for this scope you boleh buat decision, you are free to make decision. But there are certain things yang, especially those important things yang melibatkan structure, melibatkan strategi, masih lagi keputusannya dibuat oleh orang pihak atasan. These are the responsibilities of top management. Okay, and overall process is different from the process for innovation in technology or new product. Tadi kita dah cerita dua. Okay, so technology change dengan new product new product punya innovation, dua ni proses dia lain. Proses for innovation untuk teknologi dengan new product tu berbeza dengan change in strategy and structure. Yang ini memang yang lead dia adalah the top people. Okay. Now, of course, untuk certain things, okay, like structure, benda-benda yang berkaitan dengan administration, okay, direction dia diubah ataupun decision dia dibuat oleh pihak atasan. Okay, tapi kalau teknologi, okay, teknologi berkaitan dengan teknologi, product development, dia boleh dibuat oleh layer yang bawah. Okay, so Contoh, depending on the type of innovation that we want. Okay, kalau administrative structure, okay, kita perlukan top down yang buat. Okay, so contohnya strategi, change of strategy. Company needs to be downsized. Okay, downsize ni maksudnya perlu dikecilkan. Okay, staff dia perlu dikurangkan. That is downsizing. Structure, need to change structure. Okay, so direction of change dia top down. Okay, so dan kita dah belajar dulu kalau top down maksud dia adalah mechanistic. Organizational design dia mechanistic. Okay, tapi kalau teknologi, in terms of teknologi innovation yang kita nak tu adalah dalam bentuk teknologi, maka kita perlukan change tu, direction of change tu berlaku bottom up, dari bawah ke atas. Okay, why? Because they know better. They know better what's happening at the shop floor, at the ground. Okay, so production, okay, contoh contoh changes tu lah, production change, production techniques change, ataupun workflow change, okay, ataupun whatever improvement that they want to do in the process, okay, yang itu perlukan the technical people, technical core. Okay, so yang ini, okay, because it is bottom up, maka the best organizational design for the change adalah the organic type. Okay, so ada dual core, dua jenis, dual core, core administrative core dengan ada technical core. Okay, in an organization when they want to do certain change. So kita kena tahulah change tu jenis apa. Is it administrative? Is it structure? Does it ada kaitan dengan strategi? Maka kita tahu yang mana satu kita nak attack. Attack adalah pada administration. Tapi kalau change tu in terms of technology, maka yang yang kita nak attack tu adalah, bukanlah attack, maksudnya target tu adalah technical. Technical lah yang akan responsible untuk initiate, okay, the changes. Initiating the changes tu sebenarnya perlu daripada pihak leadership, tapi yang bekerja untuk that innovation tu adalah the technical core. So ini dua, administrative core dengan technical core ni is what we call as the dual core approach. Dual core ni maksudnya dua asas lah. Asas ke? Dual core. Okay. Tapi soalan dia dekat sini, kenapa kita perlu dual core? Why dual core? Anybody? Kenapa tak administrative core yang admin je yang buat? Maksudnya the leader yang buat, leader yang initiate, or leader yang lebih responsible. Kenapa kena ada dua? Kenapa kita kena pecahkan kepada administrative core dengan technical core? Ada sesiapa yang ingin mencuba? Okay, tak apalah, sebab kita pun okay, come. Anyone?
Sebab masing-masing ada advantage dia sendiri.
Okay, masing-masing ada advantage dia sendiri. Yes, that's correct. What is the advantage of administrative core and technical core? Ikmal? What are the advantages of these two, in your opinion? Or anyone else?
Okay, for me, administrative core is all about in the risk management team, for the marketing team, sales team. For the technical is all about the operation team, the
Mm-hmm.
logistics. So this both need to cooperate in order to achieve the goals lah, to be a success. Sebab tu dia dual core. So they need each other to cooperate gitu.
Okay. Now when we talk about dual core approach, maksudnya kita pisahkan peranan di antara administrative core dengan technical core. So now we are talking about when we want to do change in terms of yang berkaitan dengan strategi, yang berkaitan dengan structure, okay, or downsizing for example. Yang itu kita perlukan administrative core yang initiate, okay. But kalau benda tu berkaitan dengan teknologi, okay, yang melibatkan production techniques or workflow, that one we need the technical core because they know better. Okay, yang administrative core ni because they have more power. So that's why dia ada itu advantage dia untuk mengubah perkara-perkara besar seperti strategi, benda yang yang besar lah, yang the whole, okay, yang melibatkan keseluruhan. Okay, so strategi ke structure ke, itu memang kita itu adalah kelebihan pada administrative core. That's why kita pisahkan kepada dua. Okay. So satu lagi sebab dia adalah kenapa dual core, because we want to save time. Remember, business or competition or product life cycle and what not, zaman sekarang very fast. So kita tak boleh nak tunggu, kalau teknologi pun kita tak boleh nak tunggu administration yang initiate, tak boleh. Okay, dia akan menjadi lambat. Okay, because they don't know much. Okay, they don't know what's happening at the ground. Even if they know, not to the core lah maksudnya. Okay, dan satu lagi, kalau dua-dua dia nak tengok, memanglah dia tak ada masa. So lebih baik kita pisahkan, okay, kepada kalau benda tu berkaitan dengan structure, berkaitan dengan strategi, itu adalah tanggungjawab admin. Admin tu maksudnya top management lah. Okay, tapi kalau benda tu berkaitan dengan technical, biarlah the technical people yang buat. Okay, yang not to say decide, tapi in one sense they decide dalam kapasiti mereka sendirilah. Okay, because teknologi juga boleh berkaitan dengan strategi. Contoh macam katakan Apple for example, bila dia decide untuk separate, okay, untuk separate daripada the Microsoft ke, I don't remember, but sepatutnya Microsoft I think, dan dia decide untuk guna teknologi dia sendiri. So yang itu ada kaitan dengan leadership. Okay, but benda yang such as macam benda ni, production techniques ke, workflow ke, yang itu dia memang bawah lah, memang purely technical. Okay, so kenapa kita gunakan dual core approach? Because satu, why we separate? Because we want to save time. Okay, because we want to move very fast. Dan satu lagi adalah it is because in their own expertise. Teknologi, technical people dekat situ, administration dekat situ. They have more power, so dia boleh buat benda yang berkaitan dengan power. Technology people, they have the power in terms of knowledge. Okay, in that part. So kadang-kadang kalau you masuk certain companies, and I think Japanese company yang banyak practice this. Okay, bila you daripada bawah, katakan you engineer, okay, and then an engineer tu boleh become a manager. Okay, so manager ni dah kira admin lah kan. Tapi you can also pilih, ada lagi satu career path, bukan menjadi manager, but you menjadi specialist. So siapa yang naik pangkat menjadi specialist ni, he or she has a say in terms of technology. So dia boleh mempengaruhi keputusan manager. And dia ni sebenarnya lebih kurang sama level lah. Cumanya yang ini dekat technical, yang seorang tu admin. So there are companies yang practice macam tu. Okay, let's go next. Okay, now number the fourth type of change yang diperlukan adalah culture change. Yang ini yang paling penting sebenarnya. These are the root of everything. Okay? Akar umbi kepada semuanya. Okay? Organizations are made of people and their relationships with one another. Okay? All other three changes are not possible without the involvement of the people in the organization. Okay? Yang first three tadi, teknologi, new product dengan strategi and structure tadi tu, dia perubahan dekat situ tak akan berjaya tanpa um, involvement daripada orang dalam company itu sendiri. So employees must learn how to use new technologies, market new products or work effectively in a team. That is already a part of change. Okay? Work culture change, okay? Even the company culture change. Okay? Achieving a new way of thinking requires a focused change in underlying corporate cultural values and norms. However, changing culture can be particularly difficult because it challenges people's core values and established way of thinking and doing things. For example, this is satu case, the merge between FedEx and Kinko's. FedEx, you tahu lah kan, FedEx is a logistic company. Kinko's ni dia office services. Okay, dia ada kan macam you nak copy, fotokopi, you nak apa saja yang berkaitan dengan office services dia bagi. Dia sebagai satu company itulah. Dekat Malaysia kita tak nampak sangat Kinko's, tapi dekat Japan ada banyak juga Kinko's, I think. Okay, US and all that. So the problem happens bila FedEx ni dia merge dengan Kinko's, dia beli Kinko's. So FedEx ni dia punya culture dia adalah semua orang mesti presentable, okay. Dia ada disiplin dia sendiri, ada rule dia sendiri. Tapi Kinko's ni dia macam tak kisahlah kau pakai baju apa pun, rambut kau warna biru ke, warna hijau ke, nak datang kerja tak ada masalah, okay. So dia lebih macam flexible. So bila FedEx dengan Kinko's ni dia merge, okay. So because FedEx yang beli Kinko's kan, so dia akan impose dia punya culture kepada Kinko's. That's where the problem starts. Okay, sebab Kinko punya employees ni tak boleh terima. Dia dah biasa. Okay, you bayangkan you dah biasa pakai contohnya dah biasa berambut hijau pergi ni, kenapa satu hari you kena tukar pula jadi rambut warna lain pula kan? So bila jadi macam tu, so it becomes a clash lah in the company. Dia tak boleh nak terima lah apa yang FedEx impose pada dia. Okay, itu adalah satu contoh cerita lah, because the core values tu kan, way of thinking and way of doing things tu dah jadi different. Okay, so what are the forces for culture change? Apa yang menyebabkan culture organisasi tu berubah ataupun perlu diubah? Ada 3. Yang pertama adalah re-engineering and shift to horizontal forms. Daripada hierarchical, dia bersusun ke atas, dia hierarchical. Ada orang bawah, ada middle manager, ada top management, dan dia sangat strict lah, sangat rigid, okay, hierarki tu. Kemudian ditukar kepada organisasi yang lebih horizontal, yang lebih flat. Okay, maksudnya orang bawah lebih mudah nak berkomunikasi dengan orang atas, dia boleh check and balance orang atas pun boleh check balance orang bawah. So bila berlaku perubahan macam ni, sometimes it doesn't happen because of the internal change, but it happens because of the external external control. Contoh company yang saya pernah kerja dulu, Elks Electric tu, masa saya tak adalah, tapi lately because my husband still works there, dia kata they make product for Apple, for iPhone sebenarnya, for iPhone. So what happens is that because Apple ni adalah company US, dia sangat US ni biasanya dia pentingkan pekerja lah, okay, kebajikan pekerja. So dia bukan sahaja monitor kebajikan pekerja dia juga monitor kebajikan pekerja supplier dia. Okay, supaya supplier dia tu tak terlibat dengan contohnya pemerdagangan orang ke kan, because kita ada pekerja asing. So dia check ada tak benda-benda tu berlaku, because kalau benda tu berlaku and benda tu unethical lah kiranya kan, dan contohnya the market happens to know, so dia akan point kepada Apple, dia tak point kepada vendor, pada supplier. Of course supplier tu akan masuk newspaper jugalah, tapi because they make product for Apple. So in the end Apple yang akan dapat nama. So because of that, there are a lot of changes that the supplier punya company have to do to comply with apa ni, ke request daripada dia punya customer, which is Apple lah. Okay, so bila perkara macam tu terjadi, benda tu memaksa organisasi tu untuk berubah. Kemudian satu lagi, when there are diversity in workforce, bila you ada different people from different culture, people from different religion kan. For example, kalau kita dekat Malaysia ni, ada companies even tak allow dia punya Islamic Muslim staff dia untuk solat, for example. So itu adalah satu perkara yang serius lah sebenarnya. Please mute your microphone, thank you. Okay. Ataupun Anis, please mute your microphone. Ataupun you have people, you have ladies in the workforce, so you need to understand dia punya lady yang mothers lah, you need to understand dia punya condition dia. In the morning, condition can be very hectic, for example. So kalau dia terlewat sikit, maybe you can consider those things lah. And then growing emphasis on learning and adaptation. So because kalau kita tak belajar, tak keep on belajar, learning new things, company tu akan tertinggal. Dan kita sebagai pekerja pun, kompetensi kita kalau kita tidak bertambah, kalau skill kita tu kita tak harness, kita tak tajamkan lagi skill kita, maybe one day we will become somebody yang tak diperlukan oleh syarikat. So everyone needs to update themselves. So the needs to learn new things, to adapt to new things are some of the forces yang memaksa untuk menukar, memperbaiki ataupun menukar culture. So macam mana kita boleh buat intervensi untuk culture change in an organisation? Number one is large group intervention lah. Maksudnya yang ini memang perlukan leader punya peranan. So you need to inform, you need to justify, you need to comfort your your staff, all the staff. You need to make them understand, be in the same page as you, why we need to do this culture change. So that is large group intervention. Number two, buat team building. Yang ini memang selalulah companies buat team building. So that kadang-kadang bila kalau leader tu tengok jabatan ni dia tak ngam dengan jabatan tu, lepas tu dalam tu pun ada berpecah belah, so they will make team building so that people can enforce a good work culture, a better work culture. Also interdepartmental activities. So perbaiki komunikasi di antara department by doing interdepartmental activities. So what are the strategies to implement the change? One is leadership for change. Leaders are very important. Leadership is very important in changing the culture of an organization. There's a study saying that 80% of successful innovating companies have top leaders who frequently reinforce the value and importance of innovation. Dia sentiasa mengingatkan dan dia sentiasa reinforce. Dia akan sentiasa mengingatkan dan make sure bahawa employees dia sedar yang innovation is very important and apa kelebihan bila kita berinovasi. So this is in leadership studies, transformational leadership style adalah leadership style yang sangat berkesan untuk make people change. So this one, what is the meaning of transformational leadership style? I think you ada belajar somewhere kan? Transformational leadership. HR or somewhere. Ada tak belajar? Pernah dengar tak perkataan ni? Transformational leadership. Ada, okay. So you know already lah. Okay, what is transformational leadership style? Okay, so memang dalam innovation management studies, memang transformational leadership style ni diakui lah. Secara generalnya diakui berkesan untuk to make changes in an organisation. Walaupun adalah biasa orang akan criticize kan. Tapi secara generalnya mereka researchers bersetuju lah. Okay. And we also need to understand what are the barriers to change. Apa yang menghalang daripada berlakunya perubahan. Okay. First is when the leader, ni kita cerita tentang leader lah ni. Okay. When the leader is gives too much focus on cost. Dia nak ubah je dia sangat dia sangat fikir ni banyak sangat makan duit ni, tak boleh buat macam ni. Kita tak payahlah buat team building, mahal sangat. Okay. So itu adalah satu halangan sebenarnya. And then failure to perceive benefits. Leaders tu sendiri yang tak faham apakah kelebihan making the change, untuk berubah tu. Dia sendiri yang tak faham sebenarnya. Okay. Lack of coordination and cooperation. Leaders tu dia tak pandai nak coordinate sebab leaders cannot do everything by himself or herself. They have to coordinate. Tapi dia tak pandai nak coordinate, dia tak pandai nak delegate. Okay. Dan dia tak dapat cooperation daripada employees dia. Tu memang masalah lah. Okay. Uncertainty avoidance. Dia ni avoid benda yang uncertain. Okay. Macam tadilah dia tak nak ambil risiko. Itu pun masalah juga. Okay. Sebab when we want to make a change, kita akan sentiasa berhadapan dengan risiko. We must be brave to take the risk. Dan satu lagi, the barriers to change adalah apabila leader tu dia takut, the fear of loss. Okay. Dia takut bila dia buat benda tu bukannya menuju kepada kebaikan, tapi menuju kepada keburukan. Ataupun dia kata bila dia impose the change, nanti employee tak suka dia. Dia takut pula macam tu. Tak boleh. Okay. So as a leader, you need to make sure all these are being addressed. Okay, mesti selesai, mesti tak ada benda ni semua. Okay. So if we look at the stages of commitment, okay, dia ada 3 fasa untuk commitment. Okay, preparation phase, acceptance phase and commitment phase. Okay, so first masa preparation phase ni, leaders must make contact. Okay, sebab masa ni adalah masa orang semua belum ada kesedaran lagi. Okay, so dia kena make contact and you must explain. Okay, you must make people calm first. Okay, kemudian explain kenapa kita perlu berubah. Apa situasi kita sekarang? Kenapa situasi sekarang tak bagus? Kenapa kita mesti berubah? Okay, and then also do all those activities lah. Okay, yang berkaitan. And then bila capai understanding, okay, so ini dah mula acceptance phase. Bila workers ataupun employees dah mula faham kenapa perlu berubah. And dekat sini kita dah boleh eksperimen lah. Apa perkara yang kita perlu buat untuk berubah. Buat team building, buat interdepartmental activities. So kita dah start itu. Until kita dapat institutionalize that culture. Okay, everybody understand, everybody practice the culture. And internalization. Internalization ni maksudnya dari dalam lah. Everything to the core. So maksudnya kalau ada orang cuba nak ubah ataupun nak mengganggu, your employees tu dia dah very strong with the commitment already. Tu maksud internalization. Okay. So dalam antara tu ada banyak lah yang ini. Masalah-masalah yang akan berlaku. Unawareness, confusion, negative perception, inaction, rejection, termination, semua ada. Okay. So ini theory stages of commitment. Ini bukan organisasi saja. You all untuk diri sendiri pun boleh buat atau untuk grup sendiri pun boleh buat juga. Boleh berlakulah perkara macam ni. Dan boleh buat actions yang macam ni. Okay. Kita dah nak habis ni. So this is the last slide. Okay, so techniques for implementing change. What are the techniques as a leader? You must establish a sense of urgency for change. Okay, so mesti bagi tahu, mesti buat something so that your employees understand it is, kita kena do it fast. Okay, otherwise kita akan tertinggal. And then you must establish a coalition to guide the change. Coalition ni, you mesti ada orang yang bersama-sama you, okay, to be together and guide the change. You must have a vision and strategy for the change, and you must tell your employees that this is our vision and this is our strategy to change. Okay, find an idea that fits the need. Okay, apa keperluan yang diperlukan untuk change tu, and you find that apa yang diperlukan lah. Okay, develop plans to overcome resistance. Of course nanti akan ada halangan, orang tak nak berubah. Okay, so you kena plan macam mana supaya you boleh menghadapi dan mengatasi halangan ni, resistance daripada employees ataupun orang bawah. You must create change teams. You cannot work alone. You must have people who are together with you. So you kena create those small teams yang akan lead the change. Okay, and foster idea champions. Dan dalam ramai-ramai tu mesti ada someone yang percaya dengan you. Getting people who trust you is very, as a leader, is very important sebenarnya. Okay, so you must use, maksudnya you must capitalize on these champions, people who trust you with your idea tu untuk lead. Not to say lead on behalf of you, tapi menjadi perantara you lah dengan orang di bawah. Okay, so ini sama je. Sama juga kalau you boleh gunakan teknik ni untuk you sendiri berubah. You must create sense of urgency. You tak boleh kata, okay, hari ni bangun lambat, so you you nak, okay, kita nak study berapa jam, nak start study esok, lepas tu esok tak buat, esok lagi, esok tak buat, esok lagi. Tak boleh lah. Sama juga lah macam nak diet kan, diet starts tomorrow. Tomorrow tu bila tak tahulah, tahun ni ke tahun depan ke, tu tak ada sense of urgency. So you must create that sense of urgency. Kalau you nak berubah sekarang. At least you try make it in a small steps pun tak apa, but you must start cepat. So you can use this. Okay, coalition to guide juga, to guide the change. Sama juga kalau you nak diet ataupun you nak start jogging for example, seorang-seorang you rasa macam alamak,